Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Get the feeling now. Get 'em high, get 'em low. 'Cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got. 'Cause we're ready.
This is the Piffles podcast, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast. And Steve, you're wearing a blanket?
I am
It's a
man
shawl.
clothing, so this will be my last episode. I am going to die.
That's the way it usually works, yes.
Yeah, we had a good run.
I'm already working on the in memoriam for the end of next episode.
I hope it's at
And
least.
it's going to be me singing "I Will Remember You."
Spoiler alert, I knew that Steve was sick before we started recording, and the in memoriam is already done. In fact, here it is.
And also, thank you for being such a big supporter and fan of the CFL and myself personally.
You knew that was going to happen.
I know. I appreciate it.
We really needed it into "I Will Remember You," and then into Strebby.
That's a project for next week. This is your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcasts, watching on YouTube, watching on SaskTel Max TV on demand. Always appreciated. Piffles podcast, of course, is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive here in Regina. Of course, as always, you got me. I'm Alex.
And I'm just here so I don't get fined.
And you took
And
Craig.
you're taking my shtick here. But that said, I am actually fired up tonight. I am almost as angry as a mother trying to hold 11 seats at a musical, but that's beside the point. Shout out to St. Mary, Cole St. Mary's musical tonight. It was great. But
Just not that one lady, huh?
yeah, she was. I thought there's gonna be fist fights. Like, you think Rider fans are bad?
Do you really need 11 seats together? Wouldn't it be
She
more
thought she did.
productive to have 6 and then 5, like in the row ahead? It's like when people like at the theater, they try to have like 6 or 7 seats together. Why? You're not talking to the people next to you. Do you really need that?
And there's nothing
I
more
need one
awkward than
seat.
like trying to get the attention of someone all the way at the end. It's like, oh, let's talk to Jimmy over there, and you're just screaming. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, table reservation for 20. What? No, just get a few tables of 5 or 6 or something. Like, come on.
This
Well,
is a rant episode. We're
You
giving
know
her
what?
tonight.
There's going to be some rants. We're going to save that
Yes,
for the
there will
Churchill
be.
Brewing Company Odds and Endzones. There will be some rants. So we might as well just jump right into it. Let's get to the opening kickoff. Of course, the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Feshton of Royal LePage Regina Realty. And training camps are officially underway. We're a few days into training camps. And the best news for the Riders, and honestly, there really hasn't been much on-field news, reports and stuff coming out from local beat writers, Rider reporters that are there. Not much news is coming out, honestly. But the big news, at least over the first few days, is who's there. And defensive lineman Ali Saad and offensive lineman Eric Anderson, the Riders' top 2 draft picks in the draft from a couple weeks ago, signed in camp and ready to go. So to me, that's the biggest story of training camp so far.
Chalk another one up for O'Day. Like, the man knows how to draft. And yeah, Saad and Anderson, everyone was like humming and hawing whether or not they were drafted where they should be, but they're in camp. There's a good shot they're making it. Like, Saad was impressing the coaches already with his willingness to learn, and already tore up a jersey, which shows he's
First
competing
day.
as a defensive lineman, because if they ain't trying to hold you, you aren't doing your job, and they were holding him. So obviously shows he came in with passion this week.
In the end, they got 2 guys that are good enough to get NFL looks in camp for basically day 1. I think Ali Saad was day 2.
Yeah.
But either way, they got these guys in. We've said it time and time again over the last few years. Kudos to Jeremy O'Day on his drafting ability. The guy knows what he's doing. We just need to stop questioning his drafting. I mean, we don't. We've been on that bandwagon now, but you listening, stop
We
questioning
as
his
a whole.
bandwagon. Yeah, we as
The
Rising,
royal we. The royal we.
not us. We know better. No.
And Sod getting into Saskatoon at 10:30 p.m. on Sunday night. They told him, hey, you can, if you need some time here to get, jet lag and all that kind of stuff, take the Monday off. He's like, no, I'm here. I'm all in. So this is a guy that clearly wants to be here. So they have 7 or 6 of their 7 draft picks in camp this year. That hasn't happened for this team, that many in a long, long time. So to me, that only just bodes well for this team going forward and what they're trying to build with this team now and for the future.
And we knew we weren't getting the 7th round pick. Or the
I was going to
7th
say,
pick.
yeah, if they would have went 7 for 7, that camp would be a circus. You would have reports every day. TSN would have a crew on hand to cover every day of practice.
So those are the couple signings since the last show that we had, plus another offensive lineman, Joseph Carter, who takes the place of Jake Levengood, who, Greg, I'll let you say your joke.
Levengood wasn't Levin great.
There you go.
So he's Levin now.
Well, who was that? Cliffy said that one?
Yeah,
He's
Cliffy.
Levin
Yeah,
now?
I saw that one from Cliffy. Yeah.
So offensive line, that offensive tackle position, that's going to be the big battle. To me, that's the clear number one battle in camp. Who's going to be that left tackle? And they released Jake Levengood, and the next day they bring in Joseph Carter. So they are finding guys. If you're not cutting it right away, we will bring somebody in who can, or try another guy. So there's a lot of competition going on that offensive line. And with what we saw last year, with it being pretty much an open competition and Trevor Reed coming out of nowhere and starting and becoming, a very, very good offensive tackle, that they're looking to do that in back-to-back years here.
I'm very curious because today there was a scuffle at camp. Justin Jefferson and Bulow got sent off, and Mace, and we're recording this Tuesday night, and we're sure enough, as we hit end to record, the cuts are probably going to come out. But Mace said, if you're going to do that, you don't need to be here. But did he mean on the field because he kicked both guys off, or did he mean in general? Because what a way to blow your shot.
It might be in general when you look at what this team has built over the last, year and a bit, the culture change. And like coaches usually don't mind scuffles like this. It's just, first day in pads, guys are getting heated after, a couple guys from rookie camp, they've been through 6 practices already, whatever. And great. We love the intensity, but also we saw how some of that intensity last year cost the team with penalties. And that is very clearly unacceptable to this coaching staff. So they're setting the tone right away here. If this results in, releases of Below and Justin Jefferson, then, it's pretty straightforward to me what's allowed and what isn't with this regime.
Well, it really puts into perspective the level of intensity and where that cutoff point is for a Corey Mace-led team. Because intensity is a good thing. You want to see it. You want to see the fight in guys, but you don't want to see the fight. And they, we saw that. We saw guys walked off the field. We'll see. I kind of hope they do get sent the door. I think that sends a very clear message that these guys need to hear, that this is a team built to win now, follow the rules, or, here's a plane ticket and see you later.
So as we await the next round of cuts, we'll just quickly go over the rookie camp cuts. The Canadians, defensive back Richard Adu-Beaufort, defensive lineman Kaladi Amusen. Sorry, don't know that name very well. And Zachary Filion, Ed Filion's son, the linebacker, who was actually with us for a few games last year, stuck around on the practice roster as well, too. So those are the Canadians that got released. The Americans were quarterback Michael Hires, wide receiver Jaden Horace, defensive lineman Octavius Oxendine. So I know, Steve, you're heartbroken about that one.
I was ready for a Superman themed costume or Spider-Man themed costume. Ugh.
We've already seen that.
Don't
We don't need to see it again.
podcast while sick. Everybody needs to see it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Wear shorts next time.
There were some good comments that we got that
Hi,
cannot
Adam.
be repeated on this on this show. Defensive back Al-Fahim Walcott and defensive lineman Jordan Smith were the other cuts as well. So I'm already out with my who's going to be the rookie standout. I picked Jordan Smith just because he had that Willie Jefferson
Mold.
size to him, hoping that he was going to be the clone, but
It did appear that he had that Willie Jefferson clone to him. He did, in fact, leave Regina.
He never actually made it to Regina.
Good point. Leave the Riders. There, you happy?
there. So I'm not all the way wrong, just most of the way wrong. And then Jamarcus Bradley Jr., receiver, he was moved to the suspended list, has since been added back to the training camp list. So probably a passport issue is my guess as to what that is. Couldn't get here in time, whatever it was. But there was something that happened after our show last week that kind of opens things up a little bit. And at least for discussion, it was a kick around the kicking game. We talked about punters last week. I know, Greg, they're not people. Ben Hadley, kicker that we signed in the offseason to at least hopefully try and push Brett Lawther in camp. He retired before training camp started, which leaves Brett Lawther as the only kicker in camp. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Here's my issue. And I know I've been pushing the Maximum for kicker. Now he's signed in Hamilton, so that good for Hamilton. However, if Hadley knew he probably didn't have it, didn't want to play, whatever. The fact they signed him in what? And like February?
February sometime, I think, yeah.
Like, why would you wait this long to go, you know what, guys? I got this gig I really like. I'm gonna stick with that. Like yes, it didn't get announced till right before camp. I'm hoping they knew earlier and they're like, we're not going to put out a announcement just for one kicker. But I don't like it. He basically, and I'm not saying they can't find another kicker to bring in, but it kind of hamstrung the team if they are looking for a kicker, a Canadian one especially.
My issue is just going into another season without any fight from Brett Lawther. He's got the position locked down. Now, we knew he was going to be the starting kicker when the season kicked off regardless, but at least having that guy behind him to give him that extra kick to remind him, hey, if you mess up, I'm right here, is nice to have. And we've seen that in years past where that kind of propelled him back into the kicker we know he can be. Here's hoping that I guess he's just that kicker already, because I don't imagine they're going to fly somebody else in the next 2 weeks just for camp. Now it's not as a placeholder when you know the starter's got the gig.
Well, and how many Canadian kickers are just kind of sitting around waiting for a phone call? I can't imagine there's very many, because the ones that are good enough to be in the CFL or at least have a shot at the CFL are on a training camp roster right now. So I don't know. I mean, I've hit a 53-yarder before. It was slightly wind aided, but I can hit from 40 yards. Just waiting for my call.
Consistently?
Well, I could probably hit from 35 consistently.
Okay. So you got the extra points down.
But Brett never had a problem with that. That was the thing. But Ariel Zura has my phone number with the Riders. Rob Vanstone has my number. Just slide that over on Jeremy's desk, and if you need a kicker, let me know. I'll come out. I'll try out for you guys.
You're wiry.
I will show up to camp and give it the old college try. We'll go with that.
Now, thanks, Greg. Now I'm just picturing Alex with a cigarette out of his mouth, lining up a kick like the dude from The Replacements. Just
a greasy dart hanging out. Love it. Well, if I get the call, I promise that's how I'm going to show up.
Perfect.
One other thing, just kind of transaction-wise, Sean Bain Jr. was transferred to the injured veterans list. You can still go to all the meetings, do film work, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't count towards the training camp roster number. Can't practice while he's on the list. Corey May said it's unlikely he'll be a participant in training camp, but never say never. Sean Bain actually said he's around 80% right now, coming off that knee injury from last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do 6-game him right off the start and just kind of ease him back and have health going into, that back half of the year or back 2/3 of the season.
If there's a position they can afford to do that, it's wide receiver at this point. They've got the depth. If you have to play Del Duncan Busby for, 6 games or throw in a Joe Robustelli, I think they're okay. I think it gives them a chance to really see what they've got before rushing Sean Bain Jr. back. And there are talks he's looking at July as his return point. That's basically your 6-game window anyways.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to rush him back. And like you said, there's no need to. You got your Keyshawn Johnsons, you got your Dante Myers. Like, we have depth at receiver. And so it sounds like the new guys are pushing. Like Robustelli apparently is turning some heads this year. So there's no need to bring him back unless he's 100% and 100% confident that he's not going to hurt himself. Because that's the worst thing an athlete can be coming back, is hesitant. And you don't want a guy like him, who is known for his speed, to be worried about taking that extra cut.
Ty James was one of the receivers in camp that I've kind of heard a few times pop up from people in Saskatoon watching it. So the depth is there. When you look at day 1 of training camp, they had Del Duncan Busby with the ones. So your KSB, your Sam Amelis, Del Duncan Busby. So that gives you 3 Canadians. And they have the depth behind there. Apparently Tommy Neild is really, really showing up pretty well, which that depth piece or backup, right? Like is it a lock that it's Mitch Picton? Not necessarily. If this guy is really showing out in camp, which sounds like it, I don't think they'll be able to go with 4 Canadian receivers. I don't think it's that kind of a situation.
Canadian Air Force 2.0.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Like, are you kidding me? With this flexibility that they can have with 3 Canadians already in the wide receiver group, like that allows you to look at all 3 linebackers being American. You can have CJ Avery starting there as well too. That also allowed, and this was an interesting one for me, hearing that to start day 1 of training camp, I don't know how much it's gone on after, but Jacob Brammer, offensive lineman, was at guard with the number 1s. So maybe you go 3 Americans on the offensive line.
I don't know if I like that.
I don't know if they'll do that. And that was with Philippe Gagnon as a backup. So he'd be like the 6th, and then Fry and Zur are battling it out for paper cuts to see how, I don't know, serious those paper cuts are for the 1-game list or the 6-game list.
Unless Brammer is head and shoulders above Gagnon, why would you force yourself into a situation where now you're trying to find a Canadian elsewhere? Like, if you can have 3 rock solid spots on that offensive line, take it. If you can have 4, take it. Like, why you would tie your own hands behind your back like that, I don't know.
But on the flip side, when you're
have,
looking at a receiving core that has 3 potential starting wide receivers, 2 more on your offensive line, you're only needing your Tavon Campbells and your safety back on defense. You've got your 7, and that's not counting anything along the D line. They have the depth to play that American guard if they choose, or if they think he's even equivalent or just a little bit better. Maybe he's cheaper. That's also a factor.
But also, I look at it this way. I like Tavon Campbell. I like the move. We still don't know what he has in the tank. So we can't just hang our hat going, we got Tavon Campbell back there on quarterback. That's a ratio changer. Yeah, it is, but we don't know what he has.
No, but that's why you've got AJ Allen as your, potential linebacker, right? There's other spots you can float somebody in there if you need to do it.
I agree, but that's why.
If they
but
see
if you're
Brammer
rock solid
as
on
a
the
better
offensive,
option.
but if you're rock solid on the offensive line, stay there. Like put 3 there. Like I said, unless Brammer is absolutely way better than Gagnon, and unless I guess the savings is over $100,000 and you can use it elsewhere or whatever, but I just don't see why you'd go and sign Gagnon just to put him as a backup when you have young guys like a Fry, like a Zur, you draft an Anderson, and you got Daniel Johnson. Like you've got a bunch of young guys that all of a sudden you're PRing them for no reason and you're handcuffing yourself.
You know what I say out of all this is that we have the flexibility to be even entertaining some of this right now. So that just goes to show how well this team is constructed and the depth that they do have with their starters and where they can play guys. So I think that just the construction of the team should be applauded just based off that alone. You're not just only set with your 7. It's got to be in these positions. They have so many guys everywhere where if it came to it, they could play 3 Americans on the offensive line. So I don't think they will, but there is that possibility. So I don't think they're trying to force anything. It's just seeing how things shake out. And it's day 1 of training camp that we're talking about. I don't know if this has happened since then, but once the preseason game against Winnipeg, the first one, happens, then we'll get hopefully a better sense of what the plan is here.
And now just factor in the potential return of a guy like a Joe to add to that Canadian receiving depth. What so much riches.
Well, and the Colts signed 4 undrafted free agent receivers. Yep. So there's a lot of competition for likely one spot for the Colts. So Joe, not saying he's on the outside looking in, but it's going to be very, very tough to crack that roster. Now, granted, the Colts didn't actually draft a receiver. So the fact that they got a Joe first before the undrafted guys, maybe that does put him ahead of some of these guys. But sounds like that might be like a September problem if he does come back from the NFL. So.
Oh,
there's a great guy to add to your locker room come September.
Yeah, going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, training camp. It's happening. Guys are practicing. That's about it.
There's going to be a cut that is going to blow everyone's minds. I can feel it. And Rider Nation will melt down.
Maybe not right off the bat. With this,
it'll be one of the final cuts. It'll be one of the final cuts.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of stashing guys around here, paper cuts for the injured list and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see who they are able to keep going forward, who's willing to accept a practice roster spot, who's willing to take the 6-game injured list spot and not be able to practice, right? It'll be really interesting to see how they can manipulate that roster. But it sounds like there's a lot of good potentials in there. So scouting seems to have done its job.
We need to give Chris Jones a call and get that pre-practice roster or pre-practice squad going for when they have to start letting guys go.
Wonder what he's doing right now. I miss Chris Jones.
Isn't he in Hamilton?
I thought he ended up. Well, he was supposed to end up in North Carolina.
Oh, with North Carolina,
end up there?
Is he still there?
Oh, side note: if you want, I'll listen to a wild story about North Carolina. Pablo Torre finds out, did a thing about Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick, and it is an awesome 40-minute listen.
That currently saga is something else.
He is currently a defensive assistant at North Carolina.
That's what I thought. I thought that did actually pan out.
Still, I miss him. Things
I
are so
don't.
much more interesting in the CFL with him around. But
Can't
we'll
argue
see what
that.
happens. The next thing we're looking at here in training camp is the roster cuts that'll probably come down in about 12 minutes after we finish recording this. So
I keep on hitting refresh. I'll tell you if they come up.
we will break them here on the Piffles podcast if they actually show up before we're done. But otherwise, that'll be a couple names on Wednesday that we'll hear about getting released. So that's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty. Time for Remember That Guy, sponsored by District 306, Regina's tactical laser tech experience. And I'll level with you, Greg. My brain is fried right now. Today and last 2 months have been an absolute gong show at work. I am exhausted mentally and physically, but I'm looking forward to this, to see who you have to bring up from Rider past.
This is a 5 Vanstone one.
Oh,
this
God.
one's gonna be difficult.
Okay.
So you're saying my 2-game streak is probably coming to
Oh
an
yeah,
end here?
I broke it. You got 2, and I'm like, I'm done. Actually, you guys might get it on the last. You might get it on the last hint.
So
All right.
basically everybody that I have on my list, I should probably just ignore that because it's not going to be any of these guys.
You might.
All right. Well, let's
He's infamous in rider history. Let's put it that way.
okay. Well, let's remember that guy.
3rd all time at Nebraska for receiving yards. All time at Nebraska. Apparently, he played in 2011, which obviously that season never happened. So I don't know why this is apparently a fact about him. Played in New England with Tom Brady and Randy Moss. He spent some time in Tampa Bay.
Kerry Coke.
No.
21
171 yards, 13 catches, and 0 touchdowns in his CFL career.
Ooh.
2011, huh?
Yep. And the final hint will probably give it away. So I'm waiting. Tell me when you're ready for the final hint.
Trying to think of who was on that. So it's an American receiver. Who is on that roster in 2011? That was an awful team.
The season didn't exist. Like, I don't know why we're talking about this. That season never happened. Like they shut it down because of like bed bugs or something. I can't remember. Season never happened.
I'm thinking I might know your last hint. Does it have to do with preseason?
Maybe.
Terrence Nunn.
Yep.
There's
an unofficial award named after him.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were ever going to get Terrence Nunn in here, just because now that we're into training camp, I don't remember him actually playing in the regular season.
Apparently no nearly because he only had 13 catches in 18 games.
He is a Rider legend on the Rider Fans Forum.
I have a
Terrence
list of like 10 names, and his was one only because I was talking about preseason in my head when I started writing it, and then I stopped doing it.
This was the guy who looked. I thought he was later than 2011. I thought he was closer to that 2015 or 2016. I didn't think it was that.
2011.
Wow.
Everyone thought he was going to be a sure thing and going to be a star.
I can't believe that was 14 years ago.
Really?
I did not think it was that long ago.
2011.
Are you sure?
Showed out in training camp.
Oh, he was a star in camp. Yeah, 2011.
In the preseason, he was good too.
Yeah.
And then, when the lights came on, he had Kenny Shaw hands, didn't he?
The old frying pan hands.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 3rd all time in Nebraska. Like, here's the thing: the guy obviously had talent. 3rd all time in Nebraska. Didn't get drafted. Signed as an unsigned free agent in New England. Made the practice roster. Was on the team in 2009. Got cut. Went over to Tampa Bay. Got cut there, and then came here in 2011, and hasn't done anything since. Apparently,
Never did sign anywhere else after.
Nope.
Saskatchewan, did he? No.
Nope.
Just
Everyone got that.
in riderfans.com lore.
signings there have been none.
Many. Terrence Nunn. All right.
Like I said, like he has like it was so hard to find clues because like he has nothing to point to other than a bunch of hype.
Oh, the hype.
So every year on the Rider Friends Forum, there's who's going to win the Terrence Nunn preseason award. Okay, well there we go.
It's a legitimate thing.
On
I got to make it really hard next week. He cannot get 4 in a row. There's no way.
I'm proud of you, Steve.
Thank you. I will not get 4 in a row.
I don't say that often.
I don't deserve it often.
I may never say it again, to be honest.
I'm just going to cut out that section of the recording. It's my new ringtone, Alex.
I'm proud of you, Steve.
For every time I don't call you.
Exactly.
Well, that's Remember That Guy, sponsored by District 306, Regina's tactical laser tag experience. Let's get to our Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. And this is rant time. Greg,
Stretch.
We'll start.
Where are we starting?
We're starting with quarterbacks. Okay. But we're going to talk about the number 1 quarterback in the CFL, ? That leads us into our second little topic here. Zach Collaros, the friggin' cheater. Suspended 1 game by the CFL for flat out refusing to do a piss test. Okay, that's not exactly how it happened, but the guy's a cheater and he didn't want to get caught. That's exactly what happened. And I'm sure he probably took Andrew Harris's supplements and we'll never hear anything about it ever again. Zach Collaros suspended by the CFL because he was unreachable, didn't respond back within 24 hours of being notified that he was selected for one of the random drug tests. To me, this whole situation was hilarious. And Greg, I know you have thoughts on this, and I wanted you to kind of take the lead on this. So please go right ahead. What are your thoughts on this whole Zach Collaros cheating scandal?
So here's the thing. The supposed number 1 quarterback couldn't do number 1, so now he's suspended for game number 1. That's the first thing. And the fact remains is the fact that he only got 1 game, and this is typically 2 because of extenuating circumstances. What are these circumstances? And it wasn't fair. Everyone abides by these. Every player in the league abides by the same rules. And they phoned him, texted him, and called him. Like, come on. Like, unless you are with Aaron Rodgers doing ayahuasca in a cave somewhere, you are reachable. You have to be reachable. We are in 2025.
Well, and most employees usually tell their employer when they're going on a vacation and they're not going to have their phone around.
But
so you would think he would tell Darren Cameron, at least the PR guy, hey, bud, going on vacation, don't schedule me any kind of interviews or anything like that.
But even then, though, at some point, like, how often have you been on vacation? You put your phone down, like, you're not worrying about it. You're doing a thing. It's still at some point you're going to look at your phone going, oh, I missed a call. Oh, I got a text message. Oh, I got an email. At least at one time in 24 hours, you will do that.
You'd think so, yeah.
He just didn't want to do it. And if that's the case,
because he cheated, because he knew he was going to get caught.
Okay, if he's on PEDs, he ain't doing crap. Because if you see the Grey Cup,
they're doing the reverse of what they're supposed to do.
What's the opposite of a performance-enhancing drug?
Whatever Zach's taking.
Unless he's taking something to grow back a finger, I don't know what the problem is.
My favorite part, though. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I was going to say my favorite part to all this was that they mentioned these extenuating circumstances. They cut it down from 2 games to 1. This is such a big deal. And everywhere on Twitter, people are talking about, oh, he must have been backwater or backwoods camping, or he must have been in Europe, or he must have been traveling. No, dude was just at home and didn't check his phone. Like from all accounts, it sounds like he just ignored it. It wasn't that he was away. It wasn't that he wasn't on vacation. He wasn't unreachable. He just didn't do it. He didn't care. He didn't check his phone. And apparently, he is notorious for not checking his phone. What are the extenuating circumstances then? There are none. I don't get it. I think it's ridiculous. And the fact that it got from 2 down to 1 and they were still complaining and trying to go, oh, I'll still play game 1. You just don't have to pay me. No, if you're getting caught cheating, it's not about the paycheck. It's about the integrity of the game as well. Why? All of this, none of this made sense. Not a single step of it, other than that it was hilarious from the moment it happened.
I liked a few things. I liked people saying, well, if he was unreachable, you should be able to give him a set date that he can come back and do this. Well, then it's not a random drug test then. That's the whole point of it, is to be random so that you don't have time to flush things out of your system.
So here's the funny part. If you actually look at the rule, if you actually look at the drug testing policy, the policy I found on the in the CBA, it was the older version. So I don't know if this has changed, but originally, if for some reason you missed the calls or whatever, and there's a reason why you couldn't, the commissioner actually has leeway into letting you do another drug test, but it's basically immediately. It's going, okay, you missed it? Okay, let's go now. And it's up to the commissioner whether to do it or not. So I'm guessing Zach just refused. So I don't know. It is like the commissioner actually has some leeway in that, and that's why we got the 1 game instead of 2. But apparently the commissioner also goes, okay, so you missed it. You have a reason why you missed it. You had a health issue. You're at a funeral, or you had whatever. There are circumstances where they can give you a pass on it. Zach didn't have any of that. So it's just, and like I said, if this was Chad Kelly, everyone would have skewered him, and he probably would deserve it. But because it's Zach Collaros and it's, oh, he's the face of the league, he's not. Like, does no one watch Zach Collaros play anymore? Like, do we just memory?
Apparently not, if you ask TSN.
Like, this myth that he's the best quarterback in this league is not true anymore. It is not even close. And besides 2 games last year, the West Final and the game where he put up 6 touchdowns against the Elks, he was okay at best, and usually bad. And yet somehow it's like Zach Collaros is the number 1 quarterback in the league. He is not. It hurts me to say it's probably Bo Levi Mitchell right now.
Based off last year, yeah.
Trevor Harris should be a close 2nd or 3rd on that list. But he didn't even make Enoch's top 6.
You're getting ahead of yourself here.
I know I am. I'm mad.
Okay, we'll get back to that. One last final thing on Zach Collaros cheating. I also did like how a lot of course, it was Bomber fans saying, how can they do this to somebody who's never tested positive before? Well, guess what? Remember when Marcus Thigpen tested positive and got 2-game suspension? You know what happened before that? He never tested positive. You never know positive until you do.
You know how many times Roger Clemens tested positive in Major League Baseball? 0.
Yeah.
You know how many times he did drugs? A lot.
Yeah. Every other time.
Yeah.
But I very much remember when Andrew Harris had his issue. That was the same thing they said then too. He gets tested more than anybody, and he's never failed before. Good for him. He failed now.
Yep. It's all
you never fail until you fail.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right. So I loved that people were trying to defend it. Well, you can't do this because he's never done it before. Well, so that has nothing to do with anything. That defeats the whole purpose of the random drug testing.
And also it's like, well, he didn't actually fail anything. He just didn't do the tests. And so I'm like, okay, remind me next time I get pulled over by a police officer and I refuse to do a breathalyzer that according to Zach Collaros, if I don't do it, I'm not drunk.
AC Leonard. Was it AC Leonard who couldn't pee in the cup?
Couldn't pee.
Yeah. Well, too bad.
Never failed a test.
Those are the rules. You got to do it. Otherwise, you got to face a suspension or something, whatever the punishment is. That's literally just the rules. Anyway, Zach Collaros is a cheater. He got caught for refusing to do a piss test. So that's the long and short of it. Greg, while you're talking about quarterbacks. Okay, so Enoch Muamba, TSN now. listed his top 5 quarterbacks for this upcoming season, and Trevor Harris wasn't in that top 5, and you said he wasn't in the top 6. You're pretty heated about this. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Once again, like I said, they said Zach was 1. I'm going
That's
to
where
ask
his
my
list
memory.
is wrong to begin with.
Yeah, right there. Bo Levi Mitchell was 2. 3 was Vernon Adams. 4 was, who am I missing? Chad Kelly. 5 was Drew Brown. And Nathan Rourke didn't make the list. And Nathan Rourke just barely didn't make the list. But, came in last year, wasn't quite ready. And I'm like, so that means at best, Trevor Harris is 7. What games are you guys watching? Like, Collaros isn't good. Bo Levi Mitchell, yes. Harris had when he wasn't hurt, was like the best quarterback in the
top
league.
2. He was top 2.
VA wasn't the same after Roar came back, and that's a little on him and a little on BC messing him up. Drew Brown, what has he done?
He's got potential. He had some good games, but I wouldn't put him in the top 5.
Kelly wasn't that good till he got hurt either. Like, I just don't get it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's number 1 bulletin board material, but we got to stop this myth that Zach Collaros is the best quarterback in the league. He hasn't been in years.
The whole point of Henoch Muamba's list is exactly what has happened from it.
Probably, but I don't care. I will gladly play into it.
He got what he wanted. He knew what he was doing. There's no way he looks at this league right now and says Zach Collaros is legitimately the number 1 quarterback. The dude knows football. He also knows media. And that, to me, shined through in this list. Not including Trevor Harris, when many put him in MOP talk if he would have stayed healthy. He had the numbers extrapolated over a year to be in that talk. Or, again, Bo Levi Mitchell legitimately was. There are so many better options than Zach Collaros, Drew Brown, and even Vernon Adams, I think, is right in that top 3 spot. Until he was replaced for Nathan Rourke, he was legitimately an MOP candidate. He was the runaway MOP candidate. One day, a team is actually going to give him respect and hold on to him and let him actually, play. But hopefully it's not in Calgary. Sorry, VA. Hope it happens out east for you.
Okay. Do you want to do music or television next? Where do you guys want to go?
It's like a game of Trivial Pursuit here. Let's go music.
We'll do TV just to spin off the Henoch Muamba
TSN.
knowing media. TSN announced, or the CFL announced, that 2 preseason games again this year will be on TSN. I'll include the East teams, no West teams, no Riders, no Bombers, which are the ratings drivers. Does that bother you guys in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Not even a little bit.
Preseason. Like, preseason football is bad football. It really is. It's not for the fans. It really is not for the fans.
No.
So the fact that people are upset about it just blows my mind. And why would TSN, like, they're still broadcasting the games on TSN Plus or CFL Plus. Sorry,
CFL Plus. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you really want to watch it, you can log in. And like last year was the preseason games were free. So I'm assuming they are again this year.
Yep.
So I don't know why people are so upset about this, because no one's going to care.
People need a pitchfork.
And it's funny because we talk about the league needs to get into streaming to do this. Well, okay, now they're going to be streaming these. Well, not like that.
Yeah.
It
always is. I want this. Okay. No, I want it differently. Like, not like that.
I mean, like, selfishly, with it not including the Riders at Bombers in our first preseason game. Yeah, okay. I'd rather have that game on TV so I don't have to stream it, but it's not a big deal. I mean, I don't have TSN anyway. I have to stream it off the app anyway. So either way, I'm streaming the preseason game. So it doesn't really matter to me at all.
It really inconveniences me. I have to use my computer instead of my SaskTel Max box. and it's like an extra 2 steps, Alex. I can't even believe the league would do this to us. Just the amount of suffering they're putting CFL fans through for preseason football is astronomical.
Well, the CFL, like the Canadian government, hates the West. This is what I'm reading online.
It's true. I will say there's only one thing worse in sports than CFL preseason, and that's the NFL preseason.
Yep.
So
The NFL preseason should have cost Winnipeg their CFL team. So there's some positives there.
Well, we're still grinding that ass with Bob Irving.
Always, until forever.
All right. And the last thing that we have here this week is Snoop D-O-double-G, Snoop Dogg, well-known Riders fan, by the way, is the headlining concert for the BC Lions kickoff concert for their season opener. And people are mad about this. Now, I can understand if rap's not your genre. They've gone from One Direction to LL Cool J to 50 Cent, now to Snoop Dogg. Okay, outside of One Direction, there's a trend there. I get that. You're not into, if you're a country or a rock fan, yeah, you're probably not listening to Snoop Dogg. I get
Come
that.
to Saskatchewan, we got you.
I get that. That's not in your wheelhouse. Fine. You don't have to go. It's as simple as that. This concert is an hour and 15 minutes before the game time, before kickoff. If you don't like Snoop Dogg and you don't want to go see his concert, guess what? It's not at halftime. They're not making you sit through it so you can watch the rest of the game. You could just show up at kickoff. I don't know why you want to skip out. Snoop Dogg's fantastic. Anybody that has ever seen Snoop Dogg, look at the Super Bowl halftime show with him and Dre and Eminem. Like, people are talking about how that's the greatest, like, this generation now is talking how that's the greatest Super Bowl halftime show of all time. And great halftime show. I probably would put it in my top 5, and I love all of them. But I don't understand. I've seen BC Lions season ticket holders saying they are selling their tickets because this is not a rock act. Selling your tickets. Just don't go early enough for the concert. And guess what? The BC Lions already have your money. They don't care. They're not marketing to you. They're trying to broaden the fan base. And by getting a huge international star like Snoop Dogg, who's still relevant all the time, just because he's always constantly doing something. Yeah, he hasn't really made any big music in the last 20 years. But everybody knows who he is. Literally everybody knows who Snoop Dogg is. This is huge. And Amar Doman knocked it out of the park again. This is his best one yet. One Direction I thought was fantastic in terms of getting a name for that first one that they did. LL Cool J, okay. He's getting pretty old, hasn't done anything in a long time, but people loved it. 50 Cent, okay. A little bit more current. People loved it. Snoop Dogg, always current. People will love this. But people are mad about this. And there was one other thing about this that kind of made me just bite my tongue a few times, was when I saw people saying, what, there wasn't a Canadian act that was available? Now,
It's always that.
I understand in today's political landscape between Canada and the US, absolutely support Canadian, absolutely. As much as you possibly can. I know there's some things you just can't, right? You want an orange? Well, tell me where you're going to find a Canadian orange. You're not going to find one. They're coming from Florida. They're coming from California. You're going to have an American orange, whatever. But support Canadian stuff whenever you can. It's kind of sad that we've gotten to this political landscape that this is what's forcing people to be patriotic. But when you look at music specifically for this act, sorry guys, it's in the summer. Trooper's pretty busy doing weddings. Who else are they going to get? What Canadian acts are available that are out there? Now, Nickelback would have been one and would have gone over pretty well by most people until you get to the whole, the Nickelback haters. which
They're making a
probably
resurgence.
Steve. I like Nickelback, actually. I think I like them more just because people hate them.
I've grown to not care. My hate went entirely to the Sheepdogs.
I was
You
going
know
to say,
They're
the Sheepdogs
coming.
will draw.
Yeah, they're coming. I think they're coming here. I was going to buy you a ticket.
I will not go. I'm sorry. I can't do it. You know what? I'll go. There's beer. It'll be fine. You know what? I'll make you a deal, BC. We will trade you Kim Mitchell and you give us Snoop Dogg. Everybody wins. Right?
I just don't understand how people can be so mad at this. This is Amar Doman's shilling out a lot of money to make this happen just to try and grow the fan base. And the CFL fan base is, and I'm broad brush here, is so
The Royal CFL fan base.
Yeah, is so jaded that they want their little clique. And that's all they want. They don't want the league to expand. They want all these great things, but don't want new fans. Well, how else are you going to get new fans if they're clearly not coming to games to watch the games themselves? You have to give them some sort of bonus. Okay, well, a $50 ticket gets you a home opener and Snoop Dogg concert and probably like a 50-minute Snoop Dogg concert. That's a bargain. That is a great price. And I hope you don't work in marketing because you're clearly not very smart at it. This is great marketing, again, by Amar Doman and the CFL. It kind of sucks that, a pregame concert that isn't going to be streamed by TSN, which they did for One Direction, and I think they did for LL Cool J. They didn't for 50 Cent, though.
It's a little harder for guys like 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg with their musical stylings might not.
Snoop, I will say, though, is very good at having family-friendly versions of his songs. He's been very, very good at that. And that's a little bit more of the appeal to him, is that you may not know a lot of the words because he doesn't say them or he doesn't sing them based on where he's performing, right? Like if he's doing a national stage, he's probably not doing that. Like if he knows it's on TV, he knows he's not going to say certain words. He's going to replace it with the radio edit version, right? So he's very, very smart in that way. He's a very good business person doing that. So I just don't understand how people can be mad. If you don't want to go to it, that's cool. You don't have to like it. That's fine. Just show up later. Don't sell your tickets because the pregame entertainment isn't to my standards. Well, just don't go to the pregame entertainment.
The funny thing to me is that I looked it up. An average Snoop Dogg appearance fee is somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million American.
Yes.
These are money losers for Amar Doman. He is
Big
not
time.
profiting on these home openers. These are to build. If he gets 1,000 new fans every year from these concerts, from the 10,000 that show up, even 500, that down the line, that adds up so quickly. That's what he's doing. He's trying to get those 1 in 10 that come for a Snoop Dogg concert and get hooked on football because they've grown up watching they've watched the NFL, they've watched everything else. Maybe they haven't followed the CFL enough. This is their way in. Like this is not about profit for Amar Doman. This is not about making money. This is pure and simple marketing to build the future of his team. And I wish we would do things like this. It would be phenomenal.
And it's not about getting these people to buy season tickets because they're not going to buy season tickets.
Nope.
Maybe they'll go one other time this year and they'll bring their friend or they'll bring their kids. And if you get one of those people down the line, domino effect, the kid goes to the game, really enjoys it, has a great time, loves the mascot, doesn't even care about the game, loves the mascot, loves the fact that the guys are down in the corner banging the drums in BC. Something, whatever it is, they want to go. Okay. Oh, hey, that's a pretty cool, foam finger because it's the lion claw. Or I like that hat. Dad, can I have that hat? Yeah, sure, son. Here you go. Whatever. Hey, Mom, I really like the snack that they had there. Can we go to a game? Okay, yeah. It was pretty cheap last time. It was only $50. So we all got in for under $100. Yeah, we can do that. That's what it's about. Getting them to go one more time. And one more time. It's not about, they're not going to buy season tickets this year, maybe in 20 years. And it's a long-term plan by Amar Doman. And it's a very smart long-term plan because it will pay off. But like,
look at
just
the
fact that
ages
people can be mad at this blows my mind.
Look at the ages of the acts that he's bringing in, and the demographic that those are marketing to as well. They are marketing to that, you know, your LL Cool J's, your 50 Cent, and now Snoop Dogg. That's all our generation and older. They're not bringing in the, you know, the crowd that the 19-year-olds are listening to right now. They're bringing in the guys with families who will bring in, you know, if I come with just me, I'm 1 ticket. But if I come and I bring my family, that's 5 tickets. That's 5 meals. That's 5 drinks. That's a couple of jerseys. That's where it adds up. And getting these older acts, that's another reason why you're seeing some of these, I assume, you know, these older generation talents that are still relevant today, but not necessarily the current mark or the current generation's jam. Which
is funny because everybody's talking about, we want the old, where's BTO playing? What about BTO? What about, you know, bring AC/DC? You know, we talk about old acts like Snoop Dogg. Okay. Everybody wants the classic rock. Well, those are 60 years old now. Like, what?
Next year, they'll bring in the Stones.
What they need is the Canadian act mixed with the rap. I think Chocolare would be a happy medium.
Cardinal Official, maybe.
There we go. A little crab in the bucket. Yeah.
Great. That's going to be
that was
stuck in my head
chaos
for a while.
That was chaos.
Oh, chaos. Hey, there you go. Chaos. Yeah.
Cardinal, he was with the Rascals. They had that one song on Much Music.
What's Swollen Members up to? What's Swollen Members up to?
Hey,
and they could bring in Nelly Furtado.
Mad Child was in Saskatchewan. He was in Regina here, I think in November. Swollen Members comes around. They play at the Exchange. It might not be the full group. I think it's just Mad Child that goes around now. I like Swollen Members. They come up on my Spotify every once in a while. Now that I've said that with my phone here, tomorrow morning on my way to work, I'm going to get some Fuel Injected or something is going to play.
So they just bring around one singular Swollen member, not the whole group?
Yeah. Great band, though.
You should get that looked at.
It's been more than 4 hours.
And
with that, we're done.
That means we're done. This has been the Piffles Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far anyway, watching on YouTube or SaskTel Max TV on demand. Piffles Podcast, of course, brought to you by our friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive in Regina. Special thanks, of course, to Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty, Churchill Brewing Company, and District 306, Regina's tactical tag experience, and of course, Bigfoot Vodka for their support in making everything happen. Steve, feel better, okay?
I can't. I need to hear the in memoriam next week.
We need you back for the preseason game, at the very least.
Okay, I'll try to survive at least to the in-season event.
Perfect.
Let people say their goodbyes in person.
One last time. Thanks for watching. This is Ghost Behind Your Mind.
Thank you for being such a big supporter and fan of the CFL and myself personally.